Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 43. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Mr. Dustin Eagle, a co-worker here at Oakley Trucking, and we're going to discuss the process of going from company driver to owner-operator. We want to touch on the steps that you might go through to become an owner-operator. We're going to talk about things like financing, having a job lined up, getting with a good dealership, expenses, saving money. So got a lot of stuff that we want to visit with you about and see if we can help you going from that company driver to owner-operator. But first, before we get started on that, let's hear from Vickie Chastain on this week's Need to Know segment.
The pre-trip inspection is an essential part of every road trip for a trucker. It's probably the most disliked and most commonly overlooked part of the job. The inspection is meant to be a thorough check of the truck, trailer, and the load. The check is to ensure that everything is in correct working order prior to the truck and the driver departing on a trip. Any damage or issues found during the pre-trip inspection that need attention must be addressed before departure. Out on the road, a thorough pre-trip shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes. Make it a part of your daily routine. I'm Vickie Chastain, and that's this week's Need to Know segment.
So we have a new sponsor for the podcast today, and it is Lube Zone. You ever heard of Lube Zone, Eagle?
Actually, no, sir, I have not.
Okay, well, you're about to. Lube Zone is a great company that we partner with. I've known Jeff Porter, a guy that works over there for years, and they have sponsored, going to be a sponsor for our podcast, and we're going to get in detail with them a little bit later as we go through some podcasts. So check them out, lubezone.com. They've got like 11 locations and do a great job on oil changes, preventive maintenance. And we'll get a little more detail after a while, but lubezone.com, y'all check them out. You know, Dustin's a recruiter here, if everybody don't know. And you've been on a couple podcasts before, haven't you?
I've been on two.
Two, okay. So you got a little history there.
A little history.
Well, me and Dustin, you know, we've been here a long time at Oakley, and we've seen a lot of people go from company driver to owner-operator. You know, everybody knows our company's owner-operators, but, man, we get a lot of first-time owner-operators, and I know you deal with them a lot when people buying their first truck. So,
absolutely.
You know, just kind of a disclaimer to our audience, we've never bought a big truck.
Never.
We don't drive big trucks, but we see the process and what a person goes through. And by seeing so many of those all the time, we get to see the problems. Right. And we get to help the next guy. And we think we've got some good information that we would like for all our listeners to hear today and talk about this process going from company driver to owner-operator. So we've got, I think we were talking earlier, and, you know, about how many people we see this. People go through this. It's about half of our orientation class every week. It seems like about half of them are first-time owner-operators.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have a lot of first-time owner-operators, at least on the Oakley Trucking. And you're right. We usually have 6 to 8 in a class, and half of them have bought a truck to come to Oakley.
Yeah, and we feel like we're helping them do that. You know, we're part of helping them make decisions on what to do.
Exactly. We've helped them all the way from finding a good dealership to go to, all the way up to going to look at the truck, to getting it here to orientation. So, you know, that's where we help a guy out.
Yeah. So we got 5 or 6 things here that we're going to talk about a little more in depth of what we think will help you go from company driver to owner-operator. First one I put down, Dustin, that I thought about was pretty important was financing. You know, do you have the financing, the credit to get a truck? Should you buy a truck or not?
Correct.
I mean,
that's the number one thing you should be looking at.
If you ain't got the money, you don't have the credit,
then it's not the right time.
It's not the right time. You know, so a lot of people, though, don't know what that may be. You know, with financing, there's several different ways and that we know dealing with truck dealerships and stuff. They have a lot of finance companies that they go through.
Correct.
And a lot of guys can go through their own bank. Now,
yes.
We don't see much of that, do we?
We don't see much of that, but here lately it's become more common, Jeremy.
The banks doing it?
Doing their, if going through their own bank, knowing a personal banker that they've been banking through for a long time. Seems like we've seen more and more of that here in the last, I don't know, probably 6-7 months, actually.
Well, that's good because that means they're loosening up a little bit, maybe. So,
loosening up a little bit, and I think a big thing going through your own bank is if you can do it, that's the way to go because usually you get a lower interest rate.
Yeah,
and that's going to help a guy out tremendously, And
a local bank is more apt to work with you if anything happens.
Correct.
You have issues or something, I think they're more apt to give you a little leniency than those big.
It's always good to have that relationship there instead of somebody you've never dealt with before, I think.
I think you hit right, though. The interest rate is a deal. Typically, you get a better interest rate with your own bank. We've seen that a lot to where these guys, because if you go to a dealership, they just put you out there to different finance companies is what it seems like, and whoever can get you financed. Everybody got different criteria. So, and I was talking to actually a banker came over here last week here in Little Rock, and he was wanting us to refer guys to him. And said, hey, we're looking to finance trucks now. And I was like, really?
Great.
Yeah. And I thought, well, that's good news to hear. And, he was telling me, I was going through some criteria with him just to kind of give our listeners an idea of maybe what you got to have to get what I think, what our experience is, of what they required. You want to start that first? You got an idea?
Sure. Usually what you're going to see when through the approval process, number one, you're going to have some good credit. That's a big deal there. You're going to have some decent credit.
That guy told me, and I've talked, of course, these other guys over and over, and it sounds like around the 650 plus mark.
And I've heard that. That's kind of the typical average they want to see or above.
650 or above credit score.
And, below that, they can get you done. Now, there might be some more steps involved in the process, bigger down payment, whatever, but they can.
Higher interest rate.
Yeah. But if you got over 650, that's usually what they're looking for.
Yeah. And how much down, typically?
Typically, for a first-time owner-operator, 15-20% down is usually what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Usually more around that 20% range. Now, that all depends on your credit, too. I have seen if you've got excellent credit,
less of a down payment.
Might be less of a down payment. It just depends on what finance company you go through. But usually, you're going to have. I'd be prepared for that 20% down.
Yeah,
going into it.
That's what most of the guys, the salesmen we know and deal with.
Sure.
It's around that credit of 650 plus, and you're going to have 15-20% down. And you just got to remember, guys. If it starts getting less than that, you got credit issues, you got bankruptcies, you got problems. The lower you go and somebody says they can get you done, that is the more you're going to pay for that truck in the long run. The interest rate.
Exactly. And a lot of guys don't think about that up front.
Yeah.
Until you got in the truck, and then you're a couple years down the road and you realize what they've done.
Well, and they're so excited.
So excited to be an owner-operator.
Yeah, to get a truck.
Exactly.
And, being able to get that truck, first-time buyers, you hear a lot of that from these guys, from dealerships going, well, is this your first time to buy a commercial truck? Well, yeah. Well, that's hard to get done. What's your experience on that?
Well, another thing I want to mention is, as far as the, getting approved, as far as the credit, they look at your credit. You might have an excellent score, but if you've never financed anything before, that can be a big deal too.
Yeah.
You've got to have some credit where you've purchased some things before. You can't go in. Usually you can't go into it of never bought or financed anything. You might have a 750 credit score, but you don't have any.
You hadn't bought a house.
You haven't bought a house.
Bought vehicles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And usually, that's something that might not get you approved. So just think about that too.
It's crazy that would make it harder instead of easier. You would think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah, even having a, I've heard straight from the dealers, even having a credit card with $1,000 limit is what they're looking for. You know, it's better than having no credit.
Looking for people with debt. How crazy is that?
I mean,
I don't understand.
And I've heard it straight from the dealership's mouth. You know, it's.
But overall, financing, you know, is something you got to be prepared on the front end that you've got a decent credit and you've got some money saved up, a down payment.
Correct.
And if you're going to buy you know, $80,000 truck, well, I don't know, 10% of that's, you know, 8,000, so 16,000 to have 20%. So you got to have somewhere between $8,000 and $16,000 down payment to get in the truck.
Correct.
And you want that. If you ask me, you want that down payment just to get you a little bit closer to equity.
Correct.
When you have that truck for a little bit longer.
I agree.
You don't want to try to finance the whole thing and nothing down, because you're definitely going to be upside down that truck.
Definitely.
And most of the time you are anyway. So anyway, that's the number one thing we thought, you know, our listeners should know is financing a truck and being prepared for that 15-20% down, having decent credit, being a first-time buyer, you know, and knowing what you're doing there. So we want you to be successful. Second thing, having a job lined up.
That's very important. I might even put that over the first one we talked about. You know, these finance companies, they want to know that you have been approved. You have a job waiting. You know, they want to know that income's going to be there when you buy this truck. And, you know, that's what we tell guys when we're during the process with them. We want to get you an application in here. Let's get you approved, and for that reason there.
So you're saying the finance company they'll even call us, right?
They call us after and making sure that they're approved to come to work for Oakley Trucking, and check their story out.
Yeah, we even have them ask us what we pay,
we pay, how many miles they'll be running a week, what kind of freight they're running. You know, it's very important to them, and you know, we also send once we get a guy approved, a letter of intent, shows that income potential.
You send that to who?
We send that to usually the owner, the guy buying the truck.
Okay.
You know, sometimes
because he's got to give it probably to the finance company.
Give it to the finance company. Sometimes if they call us, we can send it direct. But you know, I think that's very important. It shows that we have them approved. You know, that their income potential. I really think they look at that.
Yeah, I do too.
And kind of gives them, eases their mind a little bit when say yes or no to this guy.
Well, they got to know. I mean, I know if I was financing a truck, I'd want to know where you're taking it.
Exactly.
And what kind of job that's going to be, and are you making any money over there, and you know what's the plan.
Yeah.
So we send that letter of intent, which is a simple letter, and we can only send it if we've actually got the guy pre-approved. We've checked his application out. We've gone over expectations, and we're going to.
Yes, and the reason is because most of the time, like you said, they're going to call us and ask us if they're approved, and we don't want to, we want to tell that finance company, yes, he is approved,
but we can't unless we got him approved. Yeah. Well, having that job, I think you're probably right. You know, having that lined up, first or second, that or financing, either one, you got to do them both. Mm-hmm. You may do them both at the same time there, but it's a good thing to have, because a lot of times the truck, you got to look at the right truck to buy with the job you're going to take. Because there's so many different things to do out there with a truck. So you want to buy the right truck for that job.
Correct. And I say you want to buy the right truck for yourself as well. I mean, I'd personally tell the guy, if you don't like the truck that you bought, then that's the first sign of, you're not going to succeed.
Be miserable, yeah.
But you're right. I mean, there's so many different jobs out there. You need to know what type of truck you need depending on what you're doing. And we go through those steps here. Once we get a guy approved, we let them know what type of truck's best for us here at Oakley. The weight is a big factor, and I'm sure it is at some other jobs as well. Mid-roof.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we prefer here at Oakley Trucking,
Well, whether it's PTO compatible, you got to put we put a wet kit on or a blower on, so transmission has got to be compatible to that. So
correct.
And the automatics are a lot of them. There's a few that we've discovered that are not, but A lot of them we can put a PTO on, and so if you're just coming to Oakley, but if you're going to any company, if you're going to a flatbed company or a reefer company, or your truck's going to be a little bit different. So you want to figure out to make sure you're buying the right truck and what that company's requirements are.
Yes, that's very big. You do not want to go buy a truck and then ask for the truck requirements, and you're stuck with a truck that you can't lease on anywhere.
That's right. And we've seen that happen.
We have, and
we've had it happen to us.
We have.
And it's very frustrating.
That's not a good conversation you want to have with us.
Well, I think the truck driver gets excited about getting a truck, and it's just like anything else. We go buy a vehicle. I mean, we fall in love with that thing. We want it. That's the one we want. We make that decision, and no.
I think, Jeremy, some guys are shocked they got approved.
May be right, yeah.
And then they get so excited they forget
Yeah.
everything. They want to get this truck today before something happens.
Right. I don't want to lose this opportunity.
Yeah, and
that's not the way to go into it.
No, it's not.
Not at all. You got to be on your game. I mean, you got to be patient and watch what you're doing and get the right truck for the right job. You know what the job is you're getting into, and just
it's good to know all that beforehand. I think before you go look for a truck, in my opinion. And
we get a lot of guys ask us those things, about what kind of truck do I need to work there.
Yeah, just for Oakley, we want you, when you find a truck, call us and let's look at the truck, pictures, PTO compatible. We want to wait. We want to go through the truck with you and make sure that's something we lease on. Yeah. And I think that really, most guys really appreciate that we take the time to do that with them.
So, number 1, financing. Number 2, have a job lined up. Number 3,
good dealership.
Boy,
that is very.
People overlook that.
I think they do, and it goes back. I think, they're wanting to get a truck. They're excited, but getting a well-established, honest dealership is very important.
Very important, and I'm listeners, guys, if you're fixing to buy a truck, I'm telling you, we've seen it time and time again. It is very important to go with a good, reputable company that's selling trucks that'll take care of you after the sale.
Exactly.
That's why Oakley only has a handful of guys we refer you to, because, they're hard to find.
They're hard to find.
But how many times have we had a guy buy a truck somewhere that we've never heard of?
We've never dealt with.
And they show up here, and all of a sudden, can't get the title work. They ain't got a title,
They have a breakdown, and now they can't get them back on the phone.
Yep.
They've already sold the truck. It doesn't matter to them anymore.
Yeah. It is very important. You got a good dealership to go to, and I think good, honest people, and they're out there. We've got a handful of them, and you just got to do it and get the people that's going to take care of you and put you in a position to be successful. I think that's one of the main things is you get with a good dealership that they just don't want to sell you a truck. They want you to succeed.
They want you to succeed, and they want you to come back for your second truck.
Right.
That's what they want to do. They want to make sure they have great customer service, they take care of you, and they want you coming back when you want to buy another truck.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for, I think. And like you said, they're out there. You got to do your homework.
What about new truck versus used truck versus lease truck? What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, if you're a first-time owner-operator like we're talking about, if you're in a position to get a new truck, I think it's good. If you can do that,
that's the way to go.
That's the way to go.
If you can.
If you can, but it all goes back, you got to do what's best for you starting out. You don't want to, jump overboard on something you can't afford. But if you can do it, that's the way to go, in my opinion. You got great warranty. You're not getting something else that's been driven. If you can do that, that's the way to go. If you can't, really do your homework on a truck. A good used truck, there's nothing wrong with it. We have plenty over here every week. and that's where it goes along with the good dealership. There's good used trucks out there. You just got to do your homework on them.
Yeah.
And
some of the best used trucks we come across are some of these fleet-owned trucks.
Fleet-owned trucks.
Yeah. They seem to be better maintained, better records.
Exactly.
Reasonably priced.
Maintenance records is a big thing.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot in our history here as guys buying these fleet trucks. And typically your fleet trucks are lighter weight, gets the job done. It's a great starter truck because not everybody can afford a brand new truck to go. Yes, if you can, that's the way to go. I agree with you. But if you can't, you got to start somewhere. And you can buy a used truck with 300,000 or 400,000 miles on it and drive
it for a couple years.
Only finance it for that, couple years.
And get some money built up.
Yep.
Get you a nest egg set back, and then after a couple years, get that newer truck.
Yeah, and a lot of times buying that used truck, you once you're at a company, whether it's here or not, you're at a company for a little while. Then you go, well, I should have got this, or I'd rather have this, or this, this rear end, this transmission, this lighter truck. I need more room, type deal, tighter turning. I don't need this long hood. So you figure out
what you need.
What you need to be more profitable.
Correct.
Make yourself more money, fuel mileage, or I'm hauling the weight and all this kind of stuff. So, knowing that ahead of time makes a world of difference. But sometimes you're not going to know that. You get into a used truck, and as long as you get a reputable dealership, I think that helps tremendously.
Oh, I do too. And just like you said, stand behind what they sell.
Yeah.
Especially on a used truck.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's take a quick break here and talk about our sponsor, Lube Zone. I was excited, visiting with Jeff Porter and Megan over there at Lube Zone. They were we were talking about sponsoring the podcast, and they're just great people. And I've known Jeff for many years, and they seem like this is just a great company and what they're doing in these locations. I didn't realize they had as many as they did, but Lube Zone is definitely a company that's up and coming. They provide PM services to over-the-road trucks in as little as 30 minutes. They got 11 locations throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, California even.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some down there in, I think, 3 locations where we're at all the time. In Houston, Baytown, maybe 2 in Brookshire.
Oh, yeah, we're down there constantly.
We're down there every day.
Every day.
I mean, every day. They got a great program on their Lube Zone rewards that Megan was telling me about. You can actually refer another driver to Lube Zone, and you get a $100 referral bonus.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, that's so they've taken the spin of we do cash instead of points. We give you money instead of earning points.
That'll open up some eyes. Get that cash.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great company, lubezone.com, or you can go to lubezonerewards.com. They've got a lot of good stuff going on there. Matter of fact, Jeff and Megan, for our guys, Oakley owner-operators, until the end of March, they're giving them $40 off on a PM on any Shell or Della Oil PM packages. 15 W40, 10 W30, full synthetic. So you get $40 discount.
Awesome.
On if you're an Oakley owner-operator and you go to Lube Zone. They also got some discounts on their generator APU service and some trailer packages. So good stuff going on at Lube Zone. Everybody check them out, lubezone.com. And, oh, yeah, that's right. Thanks for reminding me, Hunter. They're doing a giveaway on social media. So y'all need to check Oakley's social media. We're giving Lube Zone gave us some free ones to give away.
Okay.
So
great.
Yeah, so
there you go, owner operators.
Free.
Come on.
So check us out on social media because we got some opportunity to get free. I guess it's free oil changes and stuff, isn't it, Hunter? Good. All right, good stuff on Lube Zone. Now, let's we have discussed financing, having a job lined up, a good dealership. We didn't talk about, on the good dealership, we talk about just buying a new or used. What about a lease?
We do get in some of the leases, some. We have a couple we work real well with, but you really want to watch getting into a lease.
What makes me aggravated is I see a guy that's been taken advantage of.
Yes.
With a lease, and there's nothing you can do now. The deal's done. We see this lease, we read it, and we're like, man, why in the world would you sign this?
Yeah.
You hate to say that to a guy because, once again, he's excited to have him a truck. He's all ready to go. But we know that, like you said, there's a couple of good lease companies out there that do things right.
They do.
But the majority of them are tough.
Majority of them is for them to be successful, not the owner-operator.
They set a guy up to fail. You never get out of that truck.
Never. And we've seen it.
We've seen it too many times.
So be very careful when you get into a lease.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... we can always help you with that, or anybody, but...
Yeah, and I don't mind, we know a lot of lease companies. I don't mind people calling us and going, hey, have y'all heard anything about this or seen anything about this? I mean, we'd be glad to check them
Exactly.
out.
I mean, we'd rather see it on the front end than when you get over here and realize, what you got into.
They throw in some little tidbits in there that can mess you up in a lease agreement.
I think the biggest thing is, Jeremy, is they break a weekly payment down into weeks. I see that a lot. And It looks better than that total amount at the end of the month.
Yeah, and a weekly payment ain't going to work.
I don't think so either.
We never see a weekly payment work. Very rarely.
Very rarely. And that's something...
Too much pressure on the guy. I got to work every single week because that's coming out.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody... Very rarely everybody work every single week, without something happening. So, yeah, lease agreements, few and far between. We got a couple of people we deal with that we recommend, and they actually do a good job. So
they do.
Call us if you want to know who that is, and we'll go over that with you. So, okay, now number 4, I think, is very important. Kind of goes along with number 1, but don't spend your last dime purchasing a truck. Make sure you got money saved up. I know we see this all the time.
We do.
With guys getting any way they possibly can to get in a truck because they say that they think that's a solution
to the problem.
To the problem is if I can get a truck, everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got to have money in the bank when you buy especially a used truck, but any truck. You're going to have money in the bank because it's going to break down. Don't think it ain't going to break down, and don't think warranty's going to cover everything because it's not.
It's not, and we see it all the time. I mean, you don't want to spend your last dollar on a truck. Just like Jeremy said, it's a used truck. It's going to break down. You're going to have problems. You're going to have some money put back to fix it.
Yeah.
If you don't have any money, you've got a truck that's sitting there that you can't make any money. So what do you do then?
It's a frustrating situation to be in when you're on your last. You can't buy a tire. You can't fix your AC because you just got into this truck. And I know you think you're going to make money right off the bat. Sometimes you do. Sometimes guys get lucky.
I mean, that's definitely the plan, but that's not always how it works out.
Yeah, and I know it doesn't take long to save up money when you get to working, but man, you're just going to have some money. And for your peace of mind to know that I got a little something to fall back on. I mean, I think a guy needs $10,000 to fall back on, if you ask me. I mean, the way the expensive this stuff is nowadays, the rates to go in to get a truck worked on or something, especially if you got a used truck.
There's nothing. I mean, everything's expensive on a big truck. I mean, it's just you've got to have money that saved up, and we preach that here.
What's some of the things that you got to have money for when you buy a truck?
Well, right off the bat, buying a truck, obviously got to have the money down on a truck. You've got $22.90 a guy's got to purchase.
What's $22.90?
$22.90 is heavy road use tax the IRS, puts on the owner-operator every year. And a full year, is $550 for these guys.
Got to have another $550.
Yep, and that's
just to own a truck.
Most of these guys have never heard of that because there's never been an owner-operator, and that's another $550 they got to come up with.
And a lot of your salesmen don't know about it.
And, that's what we mentioned. That's what, when we're in the process helping you out, we mention it. We want you to be aware of all expenses going into it.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that $550 can slip up on you real quick if you don't know about it.
And then you got to have trip insurance.
They're not going to let you leave the lot without insurance on the truck.
Yeah.
And usually, whatever company you're going to, you're not going to be on their insurance till you get there.
Correct.
Because, you haven't signed a lease agreement, passed a drug screen. So you got to buy trip insurance. And
I didn't really have insurance down on our notes to talk about, but just as I'm sitting here thinking about it, a lot of places, a lot of finance companies and dealerships will want to work that insurance in with a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. If the company you're going to provides insurance on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, that's the way I would do that. Just so you're not tied up. All that money's not financed in the deal. Yeah, you don't want to do your insurance in there. Yeah. You want to pay that as you go.
And you're going to have some finance companies that will let you do a 10-day trip, trip insurance policy, and you're going to have some finance companies out there that require a 30-day policy.
Yeah.
So that's something you're going to get into as well.
Yeah.
But that's the finance company's rules. You're not usually going to get around that. That's something you're going to have to be prepared for.
More money out of your pocket.
More money out of your pocket.
You got to have to get that truck off the lot and get it to a place to making money.
But that gives you peace of mind too. You don't want to leave there with no insurance on the truck ever.
No. What about a tag?
Yeah, that's a question I've been trying to answer for a long time.
I know it. Well,
usually you get a dealer's tag and make it to wherever you get to. Now, if that works,
that's what we tell everybody to do.
Exactly.
Because we can't get them a tag until they get here.
No, we can't.
And most companies are not going to get them a tag until they get there. And I think there's probably some out there that may do it, but for us, Oakley, you're going to have to get here before we get you a tag.
And I would think most people are understandable out there on the road because you just bought a truck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what.
And that 99.9% of them make it here fine. They get them a temp tag from the dealer or something put in the window, and here they come.
Yeah, very rarely we have a problem with that.
We've had it happen maybe once or twice in the past.
Once that I know of.
They get a bad DOT officer, and he wants to press it,
But, yeah, there's not really a good answer to that question, Jeremy.
Kind of like that Qualcomm they're supposed to have in a truck. Well, they just bought the truck. They haven't got to where they're going to get the Qualcomm because most of the time they get it from the company.
Exactly.
So, you just got to – I wished I'd have asked that to that guy last week.
That DOT officer?
Yeah.
That'd be a good question to ask him.
We're going to have him back on anyway, quiz him a little harder. So, all right, well, all good stuff. So we got the financing, have a job lined up, good dealership. Don't spend your last dime getting into a truck. Have some money saved because expenses are high dollar when it comes to trucks. Which is your fuel. That we didn't even talk about fuel mileage. I know a lot of you guys know that to get a truck that gets good fuel mileage. Mm-hmm. That's where your money's at right there.
Exactly.
That's where your money's at.
It's number one expense.
Yeah. Fuel is very expensive. So have a good business plan. What I think number 5 is managing your money. You got to have a good business plan, and you got to keep this truck separate from your home. This truck is your company, your independent contractor. It's got to make money. It's got to have money to operate, and then you just pay yourself something out of that.
Yes.
Every week to the house is how we've seen most people do, and we've talked to a lot of owner operators, and that's what they do, and that's how they become successful. But you got to keep it separate.
You do. like you said, that is your business, but you pay yourself out of that, a certain amount every week out of that business and keep the rest in the business account. I mean, it all goes back to what we've been talking about. You've got to be prepared. You've got to, be able to have something to fall back on. You can't spend it all on your personal items. This is a business. It's just like running any other business. You got to have money to run it.
Yeah. Well, we've seen so many guys make a lot of money and are still broke. And you don't want to be that guy.
Sure not.
You want to manage your money, keep it separate. Make sure I think it's real important is make sure your family's on board with this. When you want to go from company driver to owner-operator, you don't want to do it if your wife don't want you to do it, or your spouse don't want you to do it, or your kids don't want you to do it. Correct. Because you need to be happy. Everybody needs to be happy, and it needs to be a happy household, and you all need to be able to agree on wanting to make this move as a team. It's so very important to the in my case, the man making a decision to do something like that. If his wife is supportive, it just makes it.
Absolutely. I mean, she's going to have to be on board for you to be successful.
You got to be on board, and because most time us men we make some crazy decisions, stupid decisions.
We do. But we'd have ran it through them, we wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, that's right. So, having them on board will sure help the cause. So,
and I think the reason we're saying this is because we've seen it here, Jeremy. I have before. I mean, guy buys a truck, and then 2 weeks later, he's telling us his wife's not on board, and she didn't know anything about it, and he's saying, "Well, I gotta go back home and do something else."
Yeah. Well, it don't work like that when you buy a truck. It's
it's yours.
It's yours, yeah.
So
and it's
a hard something you need to sit down and talk to your family about and make sure it's right for everyone.
I think we talk about all these things and making that leap from company driver to owner operator, which we encourage because we're all on. Oakley's an owner operator company, and that's what we look for, owner operators, and we need more of them in the pool. To whether they're coming here or not, we need more owner operators, in the trucking pool altogether. So we want them to be successful. We want guys to be successful owner operators because they might end up at Oakley at some time. But what do we do, Dustin, that separates us from any other company? Why are we so good at being that first-time owner operator company? What do you think?
Well, it's just like I tell guys, it all starts. I think what we do great here at Oakley is we're with you from the beginning to the end, okay? And what I mean by that is we're with you from getting an application in here, getting you approved as a person. Once we do that, then we move over here to the truck. And we go through what we've been talking about, finding you a good dealership, finding you a good truck, going over the specs of the truck, making sure it's right for Oakley. You're not guessing, I guess is what I'm saying. Put your mind at ease, and then once we find the right truck, we help you through the truck paperwork, getting all the truck paperwork we need. That's a good thing about going through the handful of dealerships we trust, is they know what we need. It makes it simpler on the driver.
Yeah, it does.
He don't have to worry about it. That's something he doesn't have to worry about because we've got that handled.
Yeah, and nobody that I know of that wants to mess with that stuff.
No.
The title, the bill of sale, the 2290, if I got to be incorporated LLC. I mean, and that stuff we've got knowledge about. We help people get through that red tape.
We can help you with the trip insurance. I mean, that's another thing we help you with.
Yep, to get them going.
Get you going. And then, we're here all the way up to you coming in this door for orientation. We're helping you through the whole way. And I think that's really what sets us apart. I don't think, too many companies out there do that for a guy.
Well, and you start with Oakley Trucking, you go through orientation, you get out on Thursday, maybe Friday, you work that day or that weekend, you get a check the next week.
Yes.
So And we don't hold out any deductions on that first settlement because we want them to get going.
Get
we
some
want
money in
yeah,
the
we don't
pocket.
want to, have 1 or 2 loads and then we take it all back. We want them to have some money to get something to get started on.
And I think another great point of what sets us apart, Jeremy, is it's not just when you start, we don't just, say bye and you're gone. If there's something, you're having a problem, you call us, and we're there for you. We're trying to, if there's a truck problem, we're trying to help you get it fixed. I mean,
how many times we call the dealership ourselves and go, hey, what's going on? This guy just got started.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're there for the guy for that. I mean, we do it, I don't want to say all the time, but when it need be, we do it.
You bet, and we love to do it, and that's because we develop relationships with these guys, these dealerships over the years, and yes. I mean they got that. That's a whole nother part we didn't touch on is when some of these dealerships know you're going to Oakley.
Oh yeah,
they light up. They're like, okay, now we know I want to get this guy done because he's going over to make money.
Make money, and I tell you, we have a great reputation out there.
Yeah.
People call us and they know they're coming to Oakley Trucking. It tends to seem, push them to the approval side.
Yeah, I think it does too, man. So good stuff. Anything else you want to add? That conversation, we already run out of time. We have been. That's good stuff. I think it's a big step going from company driver to owner operator.
Yeah, I just want to say, like we've been talking, give us a call if you have any questions about anything out there. We'd be glad to talk to you about any of it. If you have any questions that you thought of that we haven't touched on, give us a call here, and we'll be glad to.
Yeah, because we didn't cover everything. I mean, that's a big part of it, but
we'd be glad to talk to you about it.
You bet. Well, appreciate you joining me, Dustin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for all you listeners out there. We appreciate you guys every week listening to us. We've got some good episodes coming up. Be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure and follow us on social media and help us get this thing out there and share it with your friends. Tell all the other Oakley owner-operators that we're doing this podcast and it's good information out there. So thanks again to Lube Zone for sponsoring us. Everybody go check them out at lubezone.com. We appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.